So today, I decided to play a little game called Discussion Over Dinner. This game was plagued with overwhelming positive reviews, making it almost impossible to turn down. The game also has a ton of achievements, giving us the perfect challenge. And being the Chad that we are, of course we're gonna get them all. Upon starting up the game, I was met with a knock on the door and very limited movement capability. I took advantage of the only key that I could press and moved closer to the knock. Opening the door struck me with, well, some would say love at first sight. What I can only assume to be my new neighbor began yapping in a language I didn't understand, but thanks to the text floating above his head, I got the gist of it. Besides giving me his name and some neighborhood lore, he revealed his main reason for showing up was to invite me over for some dinner to get to know me better. I was then faced with the first important choice in the story, whether I would accept his invitation or not. Despite the illusion of free will, I didn't actually have a choice since two of the achievements revolved around choosing both the decisions. Needless to say, I ended up choosing sure for the first attempt. He then continued his yap session about how excited he was before leaving me to get ready for the big night. And just like that, our first achievement was taken care of. After arriving, I began looking around the front door for any oddities as cryptic text appeared across my vision. Realizing I didn't have a choice, I pressed the doorbell to proceed with the story. After opening the door and staring at me for I don't know how long, he gave me a warm introduction. After he asked me the first question, we were met with the first minigame that we would face over the course of the game, pressing keys in the right order to form a coherent sentence. Before we proceeded with the night and the delicious meal awaiting me, he realized he had forgotten to ask me my name, leading me to the second most important decision of the game. After making the long and tough decision on what my name should be, he led me inside for a long-anticipated dinner date. The next scene opened to me sitting at the dinner table, where I quickly analyzed my surroundings, knowing that they may be important later, before he placed my food in front of me, which appeared to be a nicely grilled slab of steak, before planting himself next to me. There was a long stretch of silence before he broke it, noting how much he loved new neighbors, which prompted my next response. The conversation then took another turn when he went on to tell me about how much he hated people who didn't like to talk when he wanted to. Please try and ignore how slow I respond to those questions. Every time that pops up, my head just goes completely blank trying to figure it out. He then turns the point of the conversation back to me before setting the mood. He asked me more questions about myself, I guess just trying to get to know me better. I was actually in the middle of answering one of his questions when I heard a mouse squeaking, which made me a little uneasy. The mood then took a sudden shift as he killed the music to ask if I was alright, noting that I hadn't touched my meal yet. Just note that every time I take a bite, I make that horrid noise, so for the remainder of the video, and for your sanity, I'll be muting the eating ASMR. The attempt at getting to know me continued as he asked if I knew any other languages. When I first saw this menu, I noticed Español, which I knew to be Spanish, and then I noticed DE, which I assumed was German. After realizing that I was wrong and the whole thing was Spanish, it was too late to go back. I actually have no idea what I even said to him, and neither did he, thankfully. He then got close to me again, where he asked me if I was really alright since I hadn't been eating much of the steak, to which I responded by taking another bite. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but for some reason something seemed off about this bite, so I think I'll avoid eating much more of this if it can be helped. In the middle of answering one of his questions about board games, I heard an odd noise coming from the door at the end of the dining room. And like someone who's been around the block once or twice, he played it off like nothing happened before hugging me, I think. I don't really know what he just did.
Hey, you. Finally awake.
And just like that, we had failed. But upon launching the game back up, instead of at our house, we were back at our neighbor's door, making me think that there was more to this than a simple restart. My theory had been further proven by the difference in dialogue from Theo. Nothing big, but big enough to be noticed. The night went on the same as the last attempt for the most part, until I heard a mouse again, where I was this time prompted to bat it away. The mouse turned out to be the last minigame we had to deal with, so the rest of the night was spent batting mice away, trying to tell Theo what he wanted to hear, and trying not to have a stroke while listening to the steak ASMR.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Eventually, Theo gets up and close with me to tell me something when his watch alarm cuts him off, likely saving my life. He then leads me to the door where he gives me his best, shakes my hand, and sends me on my way. And with that, our second achievement was in the bag. This means all we had to do now is decline his offer. One final step that, after everything we've seen today, may prove to be the hardest challenge of them all. I prepared myself for any form of retaliation as I pressed down on the end key, ready for anything he could throw my way. It was clear that I had upset him, but it could have been worse because despite hurting his feelings, he still gave me the pie he baked me. And upon closing the door and eating the pie, I was awarded my third and final achievement. And nothing happened after that. Seriously, I mean nothing. Please subscribe.